All right, thanks so much. In the Iowa caucus, if you can believe that. So where do the candidates stand right now in the rankings? Editor of the Political Derby, Jason Wright, joins us with his political rankings. Nice to see you, Jason.
Good morning.
All right, so I guess I shouldn't be surprised. Well, maybe I should be. But who sits at #1 right now in your rankings?
Well, last week we had Mitt Romney and Newt Gingrich tied neck and neck. This week we really feel like Mitt Romney has pulled ahead. We don't have a lot of data since Christmas, only really one national poll to look at. That's the Gallup tracking poll. You've been talking about it here on Fox this morning.
Right.
That has Mitt up 4 points. So in our Political Derby composite at politicalderby.com, we have Romney up about 3. So it looks like he has pulled ahead nationally in this race.
And so also now what's interesting, too, because if you look at some other polls, maybe Newt Gingrich in Iowa has slipped to 4th place, but these are the overall rankings now. It looks like Gingrich and you guys have Ron Paul, tied for 2nd place?
Yeah, that's right. You know, if the rankings were based more on momentum than a snapshot of where the horses are on the track right now, I think you could fairly say Gingrich might be in 3rd or even 4th in the power rankings. But as I said, the rankings are a snapshot of today. And even though Newt has cratered in Iowa, absolutely fallen off the table, nationally his numbers seem to be holding pretty steady, at least for now.
Is it those negative ads? He says it is.
I think it's the negative ads, and I also think it's the fact that he looks so incredibly disorganized. I don't think that Team Gingrich really understands how damaging this issue in Virginia was with failing to make the ballot. You know, typically conservatives are not the party that runs to the courts to fix problems that you're not able to fix on your own ahead of time. And I really think that has hurt the perception of the Gingrich campaign. He already looked like he was whining a bit too much, maybe a little bit too disorganized going into this. Now this decision out of the Republican Party in Virginia, I think, has really hurt him nationally.
Yeah, Karl Rove saying this is politics 101. You've got to get on the ballot first before you can ever become president. Also on your list, I think this is interesting. You look at Rick Perry and you look at the bottom of the pack, it almost looks like that bottom of the pack is sort of neck and neck. Can we see any surprises there?
Well, everyone's talking about Rick Santorum and his potential to surprise. It really goes to this question of what defines a win. Rick Santorum is obviously not going to win the Iowa caucus. But if he comes in 3rd, if you really shock the world with a 3rd-place finish, certainly Santorum would call that a win. I heard him talking earlier here on Fox and Friends about what that might mean in New Hampshire. The problem with Santorum is even with a strong showing in Iowa, he has absolutely no infrastructure anywhere else in the country. I mean, he's basically been living in Iowa for 2 years. He's polling, I think, at 2%. I think Rick Perry also about 2% in New Hampshire. I mean, Tim Pawlenty and Herman Cain are at 2% in New Hampshire, and they're not even running anymore. So I don't know what a good showing for Santorum or Perry in Iowa really means in the long haul, except maybe, you know, some confetti that night.
You talked a little bit about momentum, and I think that's fascinating. How important is momentum with just 4 days left? I mean, how much does that influence the rankings that you've put together?
Oh, it's all about momentum and the narrative from the news media. You know, folks get up in the morning, they drink their coffee, they turn on their television here to Fox and Friends to see what we're talking about. And right now we're talking about polls out of Iowa showing Romney has caught Ron Paul or is leading Ron Paul, and national polls showing Romney pulling ahead of Newt. If you go to the Drudge Report this morning, if you go to any of the popular blogs on the internet, including politicalderby.com, the narrative is all about Romney and now having perhaps an open path to the nomination. Look, folks, if Mitt Romney wins Iowa next week, and he's going to win New Hampshire, this race is over. All this drama building for the last couple of years about a tight race, boy, it could be over in a hurry.
And it is shocking considering the fact that Mitt Romney has not spent as much time there, really focused on New Hampshire. And, I mean, to be able to pull ahead in Iowa like this is pretty remarkable. One other major headline of the morning, if you're reading the papers, you're reading the blogs, it's about the Evangelical bloc in Iowa. And it appears that they're still struggling this morning to coalesce. Some of the headlines I read is that they're starting to form around Ron Paul. Really?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I buy that. I think Santorum is more likely than Ron Paul to pick up that vote. But who knows? You know, Ron Paul has seen his numbers improve as Gingrich has declined in Iowa. And, you know, I would be remiss if I didn't make a quick note about John Huntsman here. A couple of days ago, I received a rather angry email from a John Huntsman supporter criticizing me and politicalderby.com for not giving the former governor of Utah more love and attention at the power rankings and here on Fox and Friends. And so to username Matt B of Farmington, Utah, I say to you and to the other 16 John Huntsman supporters all across this great country of ours, we're sorry we have not given the governor more attention. And Happy New Year to you, Matt B.
I'm sure you'll get a few more comments from Matt B. But talk about John Huntsman, focused on New Hampshire, has some decent numbers there, but has almost insulted Iowa last night in an interview, basically saying that Iowa picks corn, New Hampshire picks presidents. Is he right or wrong?
Oh, I mean, I suppose he could be right. Historically speaking, New Hampshire has a better track record of predicting who is ultimately going to win the nomination. But John Huntsman, what exactly are you thinking, my friend? I mean, this is a guy who touts himself as being pretty intelligent, up there with the Newt Gingriches of the world, as being always the smartest guy in the room. I honestly could not believe that he said that to the good people of Iowa. If I lived in Iowa, I think I might get on a plane and change my voter registration somehow to New Hampshire just so I could vote against him in 2 weeks there. I think really one of the more boneheaded things you've heard out of this entire campaign, and Huntsman has said some strange things before, I think this takes the cake. And look, John Huntsman, I know you think that you feel some momentum in New Hampshire. We just don't see it, and I don't think the numbers are there for him to do better than maybe fourth at best.
Interesting. Jason Wright, great to see you. Hope you have a wonderful new year. I'm sure you'll get some great numbers here in the next few days, and it is crunch time. Thanks, Jason.
It is. Happy New Year.